What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Epic Dad Legacy Podcast. I am your host, Drew here, founder of the Epic Dad Company or TEDCO. First off, thank you guys so much for all of the feedback and positive reviews that we've been getting. It's what really keeps us going, just knowing that we're having an impact out there for dads. And if you're a new listener here, this podcast is simple. Our focus is to provide tips and strategies and actionable things that you can do to help level up as a dad, to go out and be a better provider, be a better leader, be a better athlete, show up for your family, show up for your wife, for your kids, for your community. And that's what we're all about here. And we'll bring on some awesome guests. The majority of them are dads, right? As the Epic Dad Legacy Podcast, you would assume, to really talk about how they are making an impact in their family and their fitness and their faith, and bring those tips and strategies to you so that you can take those, create some action in your life and take responsibility, take action on that immediately to level up as a dad. So, hey, before we hop into the episode, one quick ask. Like I said, we've been getting some great feedback, but my ask from you is if you've gotten any value from this podcast, if you've had one little nugget that has helped you in your life to become a better dad or a better husband, please, please, please drop down below and leave us a review. This is so important, guys, for us to be able to reach more dads. Basically, the reviews that we get are going to help us rank higher on iTunes, on Spotify, on whatever platform it is. And the more reviews we get, the better ranking we get, the more visibility we get with more dads, right? And who knows, there might be that one dad out there that is scrolling through iTunes and, because of your review or your star rating that you've given us, that has ranked us a little bit higher. And that dad now is going to click into this episode, into this podcast, and get some value and go, create the change that he wants in his life. And so, selfishly, I want to have great reviews, but more than that, it really helps us rank higher and helps us go out there and have more impact. So, hey, with that out of the way, guys, let's jump into today's episode. Our guest today is Brandon Swan. Brandon is a CrossFit Games athlete. He's an Aussie from Australia, down under. He's a boy dad and owner of the fitness programming platform DadHours. Brandon competed in the CrossFit Games as an individual competitor in 2012, 13, and 14, and again in the teams competition in 2019, and is still actively training and actively competing. Lately, Brandon has been leading the charge with helping busy dads get fit through his programming and movement called DadHours. I first learned about Brandon at DadHours when I saw a crazy 20-minute workout on Instagram. I gave it a shot and was completely smoked and drenched in sweat, and knew that I wanted to connect with Brandon about his approach to fitness. How is he balancing being a competitive athlete with, more importantly, being an incredible father? So you guys are going to love this conversation, especially if you're a busy dad and you only have a limited amount of time like I do to prioritize your fitness. So with that, guys, I hope you enjoyed the episode, and let's go ahead and dive in. Are you ready to become the dad you were meant to be? Good, because this is the Epic Dad Legacy Podcast, where imperfect actions are better than perfect ideas, promises kept are more important than promises made, and nothing happens unless you make it happen. My name is Drew, father of three and founder of the Epic Dad Company. My mission is to help dads up their game and become the husbands, fathers, and men they're called to be. Thanks for listening. Now let's start the episode. Brandon, what is going on, my man?
Oh, how you going, mate? It's early in the morning here. Just gone past 5 a.m., but it's the best part of the day, and I'm glad to be on the podcast.
Awesome, man, dude. Yeah, tell folks where you're hopping in from. I know you're from Australia, but where at?
Yeah, so I live just about 30 minutes west of Brisbane in a small town called Ipswich. So Brisbane, for those of you that are listening and aren't quite sort of familiar with Australian geography, is basically on the east coast of Australia. It's near the Gold Coast. And if you sort of look at a map of Australia, you've got Brisbane, and then under us is Sydney, and then under Sydney is Melbourne, and under Melbourne is Tasmania, and it's kind of the main strip of population down that east coastline of Australia. So we're basically the furthest north of the major cities. And it's nice and warm and tropical climate up here, and most of the year it's pretty fantastic weather. So.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice, man. Yeah, we just had in the States, we just had like a polar vortex roll through.
All right.
And yeah. So I'm in Georgia in the South, where it's usually pretty mild, and it gets like super hot and humid in the summer. But I think we had weather down to in like the single digits or so,
Yeah.
which we are not used to. So it was brutal, man. Does it get cold up there in Australia where you're at?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's definition of cold is different,
Yeah.
obviously, but like where we are, it doesn't get too cold at all. So probably similar climate to you guys, maybe actually. Down further south, so as you get down towards Melbourne, especially, it can get quite cold. Tasmania can experience some snow as well, but it's we're not Australia's not particularly known for its freezing cold temperatures. So
Yeah.
yeah, most of the time, especially where we are, it's really good weather. So, sometimes in winter we rarely break out a hoodie or something like that because it's still pretty nice weather. So, yeah, we're pretty blessed.
Yeah, that's not bad, man. Well, Brandon, I'll let you do a little intro for folks that don't know you, and want to give you. I probably wouldn't do justice to you of doing the intro. So, will you let people know kind of who you are, what you're about, and a little bit of your history, around fitness?
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so my name's Brandon Swan. I'm 31 years old, from Australia. I'm married, and I've got a 3.5-year-old son. My entire adult life has been spent as an athlete. So I've competed professionally as a CrossFit athlete, basically from when I was 19 right through to now. And currently, I'm still competing, but on probably more of a semi-retired basis. And I'm also a full-time firefighter. So the last few years has been a fair bit of change. It was pretty much just all competing through my entire adult years, until my son came along. And again, that was 3.5 years ago. At that point, a lot changed with our family and for me, obviously becoming a new dad. I became a stay-at-home dad during that time as well. So for the first 2 years, my wife was actually out working. She's a school principal, and I was a stay-at-home dad. And I also always wanted to be a firefighter. That was the succession plan after competing. So whilst I'm still kind of in that transitionary phase at the moment, I'm very much moving into that next stage of life, with family, kids, firefighting, all that sort of stuff. So that's kind of, I guess, a very shortened, abbreviated version of the last decade of my life. And yeah, and more recently, we've just started DadHours as well. So that's just gone, or nearly gone, 12 months since we started the program officially. So it's that's also something that we've thrown in there, and it's keeping me very busy, but it's a lot of fun.
Okay, and I feel like you're being a little bit modest too. You said so you were an athlete. You were in the games, the CrossFit Games, several times, right? 12,
Yeah,
13, 14 competing, right? So I would
yeah,
say,
that's
yeah,
correct.
yeah. I mean, you were an athlete, but you were a top level athlete to get there. So dude, that's awesome, man. And you said you got a son 3.5 years old, right?
Yeah. So Nate is 3.5 years old. He's still asleep at the moment, so I'm hoping it stays that way while we do this podcast. Otherwise, we might get interrupted. We'll see.
Yeah, no, that's
But
fine,
yeah,
man.
he's 3.5 years old, and yeah, he's an absolute weapon, mate. He's good fun. Keeps me on my toes.
Yeah, it's funny before this. I try to stay in pretty good shape. And we'll talk about your programming for sure here in a little bit. But I was out in the gym doing some heavy squats while he was napping. And then I was like, all right, let me go ahead and do my quick, conditioning, 12-minute workout. And like the second I started it, he woke up from his nap, and I'm like, all right, buddy,
Yeah,
come on, you're coming out with me. So it just
yeah.
speaks to what you're doing at DadHours of like, hey, as a busy parent, like your capacity for training is going to be so much different than what it was,
Totally. And for
when you're
me,
competing.
especially, like I still have I'm very lucky. I still have I guess a lifestyle that's set up to be conducive to fitting training in the sense that, as a firefighter, I work 2 day shifts and 2 night shifts, then I get 4 days off, which
Mhm.
really in an 8 day period means I've got 6 days to get some decent training in. So in terms of my job, I've actually got a fair bit of time in my schedule to fit some training in. But I still find now as a parent that there just seems to be so much less time in the day available for me to fit that in. So, I'm one of the lucky ones in the sense that my lifestyle is a bit more conducive to fitness. For a lot of people that are following our page and a lot of people that are following the program, that's not the case.
Mhm.
They're working 6 days a week. They leave the house at 6 a.m. in the morning. They get back at 6 p.m. at night. They've got 3 kids to my one, and a bunch of other things happening as well. So it becomes such a difficult task to maintain a decent level of health and fitness in the modern world, and with all the responsibilities that comes with it. And that's what we're trying to, the people we're trying to serve, and the problem we're trying to solve.
Yeah, and that's what got me initially turned on to your page, Brandon. I think I just scrolled through Instagram or something, and a video popped up or whatever, and I was like, hey, all right, let's check this guy out, right? And I'm one of those, right? Like I've got a full-time career, a business I'm trying to run too. And so I as much as I would love to sit in the gym for 4 hours a day and just get like incredibly ripped, right? Like that's not my priority right now. My priority is my family, my kids, and want to be able to spend time with them. And so the training regimen for me is probably, hey, I've got 45 minutes in the day, right? Now I've got to fit that in somewhere. And so that's what initially turned me on to you and DadHours. So let's start at that DadHours. Like what is the name behind that? Like, what does that mean, and why is that so important?
Yeah, so I guess I'll backtrack a little bit, because the concept of DadHours and the origins of DadHours started years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Before we started the Instagram page, before we started the program. And again, probably where it really kicked off for me was when I became a dad for the first time. So I was still competing full time, trying to compete at the highest level in CrossFit. And when we found out we were pregnant, we knew that with our sort of situation between my wife being a school principal, me being a CrossFit athlete, it made more sense for me to be the stay-at-home parent. So my wife was the primary breadwinner, and CrossFit athletes don't make a whole lot of money. It's a phenomenal sport and lifestyle and career, but it's not one you get into to make a lot of money out of. So for us, it made more sense for my wife to go back to work and for me to be the stay-at-home parent. And so we converted the garage at our house into my home gym. I was training at a CrossFit affiliate before that, and had been the entire time. Had a little bit of stuff at home, but we really sort of got set up so that I could continue training whilst being at home with our son.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also had a little bit of help from my parents and things like that, who would, assist every now and then to make sure that I could fit all my training schedule in. So for anyone that's listening that is, reasonably aware with CrossFit, it's an extremely hectic training schedule because you have so many different modalities to cover every day.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to fit in, long form cardio, heavy Olympic weightlifting, powerlifting, your CrossFit Metcons, skill work, gymnastics. There's a lot to tick off. So fitting that in is really challenging, in its own right, when you're just a professional athlete full time. So what I found very quickly was that my time became my highest or most precious commodity as a parent. So it was disappearing at a rate of knots, and I had no idea how I was going to fit my training in. So I started training at all weird hours of the day, breaking up my schedule. I'd get up and do a session at 4 o'clock in the morning, and then I'd be doing my Metcons. Every time he took a nap during the day, I'd be getting out of the gym and doing 10 to 15 minutes. And sometimes he'd wake up and sometimes I'd get it done. And then I'd be back in the gym doing heavy squats at 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and then going to sleep and then doing it all again. So I was just about squeezing it in whenever I could. And I started posting and just sharing my experiences on social media through my personal page and just in my stories. And I just kept, I don't know where I originally came up with the term, but I just said, I'm getting my dad hours in.
Yeah.
Doing my dad hours. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. It's my dad hours, or it's, middle of the day and it's 40 degrees outside and I'm trying to get, this workout done because my son's having a quick nap, and that's my dad hours. And that's kind of how it started. And then it kind of just took off from there. I just started seeing more and more people sharing their own dad hours.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's interesting. Like I didn't think it would be something that would take off, but it did. And there's a guy over for anyone that follows, it's in the CrossFit space. Some of your listeners might be familiar with Adam Klink, who currently works for BPN Supplements.
Mm-hmm.
He started sharing his dad hours experiences as well, and he's got quite a strong following. So that's it started to sort of catch on from there. And that was a couple of years ago. And when I applied to become a firefighter, and I got accepted, and then I had to train in the academy and all that sort of stuff. My time became even more limited. So at that point, I decided, or just prior to that point, I sort of decided to create a page, because I was posting about dad hours a lot, and more because it was starting to become a bigger part of my life. And I thought I'll make my own page because I'm sure a lot of my followers are sick of seeing all this dad hours stuff. I'll make a dad hours page, and then anyone that's interested in that can go there, and the rest of the people can sort of just follow along with what I'm doing. So I did that, and yeah, it went crazy. It went absolutely mental, and resonated with a lot of different people. And the whole programming side of things and all the shirts and things like that we sell, that all came just off the back of people wanting it. I originally started the Dad Hours Instagram page just as a place to put my workouts and my experiences, and then people were asking for programming, and people were asking for t-shirts and gym banners and all sorts of stuff, and I was like, all right, let's do this.
I got to give people what they want,
and yeah, and all of a sudden this big community was born, and I've somehow ended up at the top of it. And but I'm very proud to be here, and extremely grateful and humble that I get to, you know, help so many people try and solve this real problem for the modern father, and not just the modern father, but the modern person, the modern human being, that the modern busy adult who has kids, or, you know, a stressful job, or works long hours, or has to travel to work and it takes them 2 hours to get to and from work, and whatever it may be. There's all these different elements of modern life that are sapping our time away from us, and also taking away opportunities to be the fittest, healthiest versions of ourselves. And what Dad Hours really is about is getting people to learn how to refill their cup, so to speak, so that they can pour from it again. So, you know, I read a great thing the other day about, you know, I've seen it many times over, you can't pour from an empty cup. You can't give more of yourself if there's nothing to give. And what Dad Hours is really about is finding or carving out time in the day to put more back into your own cup so that you can continue to give. So it's about being the best version of yourself for yourself, but also for others as well. For your for dads in particular, it's for your family, it's for your kids, it's for your wife. You know, it's for your community around you. As dads, we are leaders in our communities, and I think of communities both very, very small as a family, and wider. And as leaders in our communities, we need to be able to give more of ourselves, and the only way to be able to do that is to look after yourself first. So that's really what it's about.
Yeah, man. I mean, I couldn't agree more. Right, like our our tagline, right, is, and I'm actually wearing the shirt right now. It's train hard, dad harder, right? And
I love that.
That's the reason why, right? Is you're filling your bucket, you're making sure you're ticking off the physical fitness portion, right? Because that's ultimately going to help you be a better father. It's going to help you be a better leader in your community and your family, right? And that's huge, man. And one tactical thing I want to cover too on CrossFit, and then I want to kind of dive deeper into that discussion that we're having right there. Is I love the CrossFit community. I love going to the local box and working out, right? But I think one thing that has been difficult for me, and probably difficult for a lot of other dads too, especially young children, is the time constraint, right? Is, hey, you know, we've got 3 classes during the day that I can make, right? And if my kid is up all night screaming and whatever, right, and I've got a young child and I miss that 5 a.m. class, like, all right, that's it. That's my day. It's done. Right. And so I think, you know, with Dad Hours, and really an approach of having some type of thing you can do at home, is just going to allow you to flex your time a lot more. Right. And be more efficient, more productive when you do have that time, because as a busy dad, and you can attest to this too, is there's stuff that pops up throughout the day at all times. Right. That, like, hey, I wish I could make this session at 3:00 at the CrossFit gym, but, you know, we've got basketball practice or softball practice, or I've got a sick kid, or whatever the case is. And so I've recently converted my garage into a gym, and it's been the best thing I've done, like, in a long time, just because I do have that flexibility, right? Hey, if I miss that morning workout because I'm taking care of my kid, you know what, I'm going to take lunch and go work out, you know? So that's nothing against the CrossFit, you know, community and culture, because it's great. It's fantastic. I love it. But just having that ability to work out at home is just so huge, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, that's kind of where there's a couple of reasons for why I wanted to sort of create a program, and the style of program I wanted to create was that's one of the reasons. It's kind of like, you know, it's if you could go to a CrossFit gym every day and access the equipment and the community and you know, the coaching and all that sort of stuff, sure, absolutely, that would be optimal. But in the modern world, with all the responsibilities we have and all the things that pop up, that's not always the case. And I wanted to create a product that could fill those gaps for people. So we have a lot of our members that are members with CrossFit gyms or other gyms and do their classes still and do their programming, but they might use DadHours 2 or 3 times a week because they know on Tuesdays and Thursdays they have these couple of things that are going to pop up, which means they can't make it to the gym, or on the odd occasion that something pops up, which happens all the time. You know, it's you've got your week planned. You can have your week planned out perfectly and it's all up on a calendar and it's down to the letter, and things will still manage to find their way in there, which will interrupt your week. And it happens all the time. You know, or what do I do now if I can't, or you're at work and you, for some reason, you've got to stay back, or there's an accident on the highway. And so you know, you're driving home from work and what usually takes you 30 minutes takes you 90 minutes. And then that's your class gone because, you know, that 90 minutes is where your class was. So we wanted to create a product that would be able to give people more opportunities to, or less excuses to not fit in some training. And so that's what we created the programming for. Our style of programming is designed primarily around time. We try to keep all of our sessions, regardless of whether you're doing a workout, a strength workout, bodybuilding program, whatever it may be, we try to keep the actual session around the 20-minute mark for every single workout. And that means even with a little bit of warm up and pack up, you can probably be in and out of the garage in about 30 minutes. And we provide multiple options each day based on what equipment you have. So even if you live in a tiny shoebox apartment and you've got no space and your bedroom's in your kitchen, if you've got a pair of dumbbells, you can follow DadHours. And everyone can store a pair of dumbbells under their bed or in a cupboard or something like that. So again, for many people, it's about just providing an alternative to, you know, what would be optimal, and allowing people to be more adaptable with their fitness so that they can continue to make progress. Because realistically, if the worst thing you can do when the conditions aren't perfect is nothing. The best thing you can do when conditions aren't perfect is something. It may not be the best possible, you know, workout option, but it's the best with what you can do at that given time. So that's what really that's what inspired us to sort of create this program, and is a major sort of focal point for how we structure it. We try to keep workouts simple. We're always focused on time. We're looking at options and you know, things that are going to allow people to get a really good workout in, regardless of experience level, what equipment they have access to, and time, obviously. So they're kind of the major focus points and factors around what we're doing. And hey, like I said, if you could get into a CrossFit gym every day and access all those fantastic things, you know, life would be good, but it doesn't always work out that way. And then the other thing about CrossFit, if we take that route just really quickly, again, we mentioned the word community. Community is one of the primary reasons I think why CrossFit has succeeded in the last decade, because it's, you know, taken the traditional gym culture of everyone going in, putting in a pair of earphones and staring at themselves in the mirror and ignoring everybody else for 2 hours, and it's stripped all that away and it's brought people together. And it's really, like, for me, it reminds me of in Australia, you know, playing rugby or rugby league, team sport, going to training, hanging out with all my buds, you know, and you know, working hard together. And that was my favorite part of sport growing up. Was, I mean, I love the games, but I love the training. I love going to catch up with my friends. And CrossFit for me brought that back, and it filled that gap that I sort of was missing for a couple of years as well. And I think that was really successful, or is a really big part of what's made it successful. So the next step for us with DadHours, and what we're really trying to facilitate with our members, and even online with the Instagram page, is building an online community and helping other dads and other people in the same boat as you and I connect, and realize that, hey, you're not the only guy out there that's only got 10 minutes today and is tired to their bones because their kid didn't sleep last night and they've got a project due at work, and XYZ has popped up, and you're not the only one out there like that. There's other guys out there experiencing the same, and here's what we're doing. And that can be really motivating, and it can be the difference between sitting on the couch after work or getting in and doing something. So a big focus point for us, particularly in this next 12 months, is how we can continue to facilitate our community and bring our dads and everybody else together so that they can continue to motivate each other and continue to get better.
Yeah, no, that'll be huge, man. Like, the community aspect is so big, and that's what I enjoy about the CrossFit community as well. I want to go back to, you kind of mentioned fill in your own bucket, right? And you can't pour from an empty bucket, and so fitness has always been a big part of my life. I was in collegiate athlete, and then was in the military, which obviously that's a big component is fitness, and so I've always had that kind of as part of my life. And it's something, like you said, it fills the bucket, and like I can tell a difference, right? Of, hey, if I worked out today, how I'm going to feel versus if I skip the day, how I'm going to feel. I'm sure you're probably the same way, right? If I feel like I'm getting,
it completely changes the psychology of my day. Like I try my best to get up at around this time and train every day if I can. It doesn't always work out. But I do my best to get my workout out first thing in the morning. And it's 100% harder to get started early in the morning and get yourself moving. But I know, and I remind myself of the reward, which is an entire day of just feeling good, feeling more productive, less stress, more calm and able to resolve issues. And like I don't know, my entire day just is completely different if I train versus if I don't. And I always get something in at some point, but every time I get, sometimes it gets to 8 o'clock at night and I haven't done something, and I come down and I just whack out a quick 10-minute workout, and every time I'm like, God, I wish I did that earlier. Like I wish I felt, now I'm going to be going to bed in an hour. I wish I could have had this feeling for the rest of the day like I usually do. So it's it's a huge part, and it is about filling your bucket. And for me, it's about, like I said I said this a couple of weeks ago on a post, which I've thought about it more deeply since I posted it. And what we're really trying to do is we're trying to bridge the gap between your goals and your purpose. So that's I posted a couple of weeks ago without really thinking about it too much, but I really like the thought of that, and I kind of believe that's really what we're doing. Is like every I don't care who you are, especially if you're someone like myself or yourself, and you've come from an athletic background or a military background, and you've done great things, and you've experienced great things, and you've taken your body to its limit, or you've been achieved really highly in your field or whatever. When you come from a background like that, which I think a lot of our members and a lot of the people that follow our page have done, it's very hard to switch that part of your brain off. Particularly when you train, it brings out that alpha side of you. It brings out that competitive side of you, and it's that never really leaves you. I believe anyway. It certainly hasn't left me, and I think I'm sure you can attest to that.
Yeah, for sure.
But then you become a dad, you become a husband, you have you get another job, and you start another part of your life, and that side of you that helped you attain your success in your previous life, it's always there rearing under the surface, and it always wants to jump out, and it's hard to sometimes force it back down. And it's good that it's a part of us. I think it's really important. Without that part of us, we would have never achieved those things in the first place. And it's a very important piece to maintain. However, if you let it take over, it can really severely impact the other parts of your life. And for me, I'm always sort of battling between maintaining the rage, so to speak, but primarily being a good father and a good husband. And now, so this part of me, the athlete side of me, is very goal driven. The father side of me and the husband side of me, and my job as a firefighter, that's my purpose, so there's my goals and my purpose, and DadHours for me personally, and I think for a lot of people, and how I want to sort of people to view it, is being able to balance those two things. And I want to tell you a quick story, if you don't mind me going off on a tangent, for sure, as to why that's really important to me. So a few years ago, when I was still training at a CrossFit gym, And I was training early in the morning because I had my son at this point, and I was still going to a CrossFit gym every now and then and getting some fitness in. And I can't climb a rope, for example, in my garage, so I go to the gym a couple of times a week and just try and fill the gaps quickly of the things I couldn't do at home. And I remember one morning, I'll never forget it. This woman brought her kids to the gym. It was 10 to 5 in the morning, and this woman was coming to do a CrossFit class, and she was dragging these 3 kids along, and the kids were still in their pajamas, and they don't know what day it is or where they are, and they're super tired. And I'm not in any way, shape, or form judging this woman for her choices. It's obviously the only time she could get training in during the day, and it's very important to her, and I believe in the importance of fitting training in. But in that moment, I was like, oh, I don't want to be that parent. I don't want to have to force my kids out of bed so I can get some training in. And to further that, I don't want my goals to impact my life so much that it becomes a burden on my family, or it becomes a burden on my child. So, but it's very easy for that to happen. It can be so easy to, start training, and then you want to do a little bit. I'll go 3 days a week, and then that turns into 6 days a week, and then you're doing double days 3 times a week, and then you're signing up for an extra weightlifting class and XYZ, and then all of a sudden you're spending all this time in the gym, and you're not at home with your family, or you're not fulfilling your purpose. Your goals have taken over. So whilst DadHours is very, very much about filling your cup and promoting finding time to get your health and fitness in, it's also about making sure that you understand your priorities and understand your goals and your purpose, the difference between the two, and finding a balance point that allows you to get the most out of both worlds. I want you to push yourself and get the most out of your health and fitness, and be the fittest, strongest version of yourself you can be. And I want you to satisfy that goal-driven athlete side of yourself. But I don't want you to forget this side. I don't want that side to get so involved that your kids and your family suffer because of it. And it's something I battle with all the time. And I try to be very open about this. Like, it's, I'm often like, all right, no, that's enough training for today. Let's go back upstairs now, and let's hang out with my son, or whatever it may be. It's something I battle with all the time, because I'm still very much in that mind space and that side of my life, and I'm transitioning into the other side now. But it's a very important piece for me. I think it's is finding that balance point, so that your goals don't get to the point where this more important side of life suffers as a result. So I know that's very much on a tangent from where we were going.
No, not at all. Not at all. And I want to touch on,
hopefully it makes sense.
No, I want to touch on that too. Because you mentioned, like, and we mentioned a couple of times now, filling your bucket, right? But like when it comes down to it, us as dads, we're men, like we have, testosterone flowing through us, right? And when you think about, thousands of years ago, what our life looked like, it's dramatically different than what it looks like now, although the culture has changed, societal tendencies have changed, things like that, right? Like that kind of innate, structure, that DNA is still within us, right? And so I think it's so important that you fill that bucket, right? Of, hey, I want to go out, I want to compete, I want to do hard things, right? Because that's ultimately going to help you along the line, right? You're filling that kind of masculinity bucket, right? And it's huge, man. It's something that, like I said, I can feel a difference. I mean, just on a day to day of if I go really hard on something in the gym, I'm going to have a much better day. I'm going to be a much better dad, maybe a much better husband. I can show up better. And totally. On days where I don't do that, I can feel it, and so I think, yes, there does need to be the balance there, but I think additionally to what DadHours does, and really what fitness does in general, and I'll use the quote from Bedros Keuilian. I don't know if you know Bedros or not, but he's got this quote that says, "Physical fitness is the gateway to personal excellence." And I just love that quote, because when you think about things you can control in life, there's a lot that you can't, right? Like your job and getting a raise and whatever. There's a lot of stuff that's you can work hard at, but ultimately the outcome is outside of your control. But with fitness and nutrition, it's something that's directly within your control, right? And so I want to touch on that, and really just the the discipline aspect that you get from dad hours and you get from working out. And so, how important do you think that is, right? I don't know if your programming is 7 days a week or 5 and what you recommend, but really what other benefits are you going to get outside of just getting physically fit, from incorporating this into your routine?
Yeah, I think with that, for when I started doing DadHours training myself, when I started following the program myself and sort of moved my own training towards it, originally the goal for me personally, if we go back to goals and talking about it, originally I started doing this to achieve better physical fitness and to become, or continue to excel in my field as a CrossFit athlete. What I realized very quickly, and what I got more so out of it, rather than the physical side of things, was all of the emotional and psychological benefit that came with making sure that I showed up and trained consistently. Where I saw more advancement and where I saw more benefit was in the rest of my day-to-day life, as we just quickly talked about. So, showing up and becoming a better father, being a better husband, being more rational, being more calm. So for me, it was, I quickly learned that the benefits, or personal excellence, like you said, sort of far outweighed the physical side of things, of why I should continue to do this. And for me, it's very apparent and very obvious. Like I said, on the days where I train first thing in the morning, the entire psyche of my day, the entire way that my day flows, my outlook, my ability to make decisions, process things, deal with situations as they arise, is significantly better on the days that I get my training done first thing in the morning. So that for me now is the main motivator for getting up and training. So when my alarm goes off at 4 o'clock in the morning and I don't want to get up, what I remind myself of, or what I don't even have to remind myself now because it's kind of conditioned in. But what I know will happen is that if I no matter how uncomfortable it is right now, if I get up and I do this thing, I know that the rewards are going to pay off for the rest of the day. And if I don't, I'm going to regret it, and I'm going to be playing catch up for the rest of the day. And I might not get an opportunity to fix that, which means I've got to deal with this feeling all the way through till tomorrow until my alarm goes off at 4 o'clock again. So, that for me is the motivation and the reason why I choose to get up and put the work in early, and the reason why I choose to get uncomfortable so frequently. And so for me, the reason for why I do it has certainly changed. And it used to be about fitness, and whilst for me now fitness is kind of the side component. It's the
more
cream
middle
on top. You know what I mean? Like it's not that. It's I'm getting down here because I know that I'm going to feel better about myself. I'm going to be able to perform at a high level across any given task throughout the day, and it's going to have a direct impact on my family. It's going to have a direct impact on how I perform at work. It's going to have a direct impact on anyone I come in contact with. So that's the motivation for me now. And that's what gets me out of bed in the morning. And that's what makes me show up and work hard every day.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I've started to do, so I've got 3 kids. I've got 2 daughters, 6 and 4, and my son's 10 months. And I'm in the same boat, right? Like typically I'll either get up early and do the workout, or if I'm working at home, potentially, I'll take an hour over lunch or whatever. But usually my kids aren't around, right, when I'm working out. But one thing I've started to do lately is incorporate them into it, right? Because I think it's so important for them to see that their father working hard, having a goal, going after that goal, getting sweaty, getting dirty, and just really pounding the pavement and getting after it. And I just think that's really important. And so I've started to incorporate my kids a little bit. And even though they're not like out there, lifting heavy or anything at 6 years old, like just kind of them being around that, right, has been huge. And it's so funny. I just posted a video the other day. We were out in the garage, and my middle child, my daughter, she's 4, just started knocking out burpee box jump overs. you
Yeah, I
know?
saw that. That was awesome.
Yeah.
So cool.
And I mean, it's totally unprompted, you know, she just
Yeah.
seen me do them and she wanted to do them. And so I love that too. So do you ever like have your son, you know, involved in workouts and, you know, I mean, he's 3.5, right? Like you're not going to have him like, you know, loading up the squat bar or anything, but, you know,
He
but like
wants
how,
to, but
yeah, like how important is that you think that our kids see us working hard?
oh yeah, it's extremely important. I think, and my son is knows nothing different. It's my garage gym actually directly across from where I'm sitting right now. I'm in the garage at the moment. Directly across from where I'm sitting is sort of my son's bedroom where he sort of there's the windows there and he's sort of sorry, it's not his bedroom, it's kind of like a toy room. We have a spare room in the house and it's where we keep his toys and all that sort of stuff, and he can make a mess in there and have fun and you know, and you know, we can just shut the door and worry about it tomorrow which often happens. But it's but ever since since he could stand up, he was, you know, at that window watching dad work out. And then as he's gotten older, he's come down to the gym and he knows no different. Like it's just it was very important to me, or it is very important to me that my son has an appreciation for and an understanding of the benefits and the value of leading a healthy lifestyle. And
Mm-hmm.
I want it to be, you know, I want it to be the norm for him that he sees his mum and his dad down here every day, challenging themselves and working hard. I want it to be the norm that he sees his mum and his dad every day, you know, eating well. Like, you know, nowadays you're an outlier if you eat healthy these days.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're eating, you know, meat and fruit and vegetables and you're staying away from processed foods, you're weird, you know.
Yeah,
you're not the
weirdo.
normal person. So but for my son, I want him to understand, or I want his view of the world to be different. I want that to be normal for him. I want that just to be the way it is, because if that's the way he's shaped from birth, it's going to be so much easier for him to continue those you know, continue those methods and lead that lifestyle himself moving forward. And part of that is having a good relationship with exercise, good relationship with nutrition. And the only way that you're going to achieve that is to get them involved and make them excited about it with you. We're at a very challenging stage at the moment with my son being 3.5, where he has an extremely heightened level of self-confidence and wants to be down here and wants to be you know, running around the gym. And sometimes I'm, you know, throwing a heavy barbell overhead and I'm like, well, you just can't be down here right now, mate, because you know, it's I don't want you to.
No,
He doesn't quite understand the danger that is present, you know, when I've got a 100-kilogram barbell overhead and I'm dropping it, and you know, and so, you know, we're in that kind of funny phase at the moment where I love having him down here, but sometimes you got to be sometimes it's like, mate, it's just not safe right now. I'll call you down. And often it's the way is like, he'll want to come down in the gym and I'll say, all right, come down for 5 minutes and I'll start warming up and I'll be like, all right, dad's about to do this. So I'll call you back down in 15 minutes when I'm done. So as soon as I've done this, you can come back down, and I might be doing a bit of bodybuilding or something where I'm not worried about his safety, or I'm not in the middle of a, you know, Metcon and I can't see him because he's behind me or whatever it may be. So, you know, that's kind of, we navigate it that way at the moment, but definitely try to get him involved. And like I'm sitting here at the moment and, you know, like he's got his own barbell. And
you got to tell me where you picked that up. I want to get some for my kids. I have, you know, CrossFitter, of course, you got a PVC pipe, you know, right? To stretch with. And so I've got my kids, they're doing squats and stuff with that. And my little one does good mornings. It's hilarious. She'll bend down and pop up and just go, good morning, you know? And, but it's funny. Yeah. I have the rule. If I'm on the mat doing a workout, like you're not allowed on the mat. Like that's the rule, you know? But it's funny. You posted a video and it just made me laugh so hard because it's so relatable. Where you were running on your, you know, your treadmill thing. And I guess your son had your jump rope and just like tossed it on there. Like run over it. And like all these obstacles. And I'm like, dude, that's so familiar, you know, because
that happens a lot. Yeah. So that day was like, it was everything. Like he's just throwing things at me. And in the moment I want to be very frank and very honest about this. In the moment, I was so frustrated.
Oh yeah, you're like, God bless, like just get out of here, you know?
Oh my God, like I was just so annoyed, and I was, you know, and you know, also like I was like, and like I was boiling up inside. I was like, I was getting really angry. And then, and then after a little bit, like I sort of, but again, it's about reminding myself, and I'm often reminding myself in those situations. I've even written it on my whiteboard a few times. I'll write like dad first, like
Yeah, like
when I'm
why am
like,
I doing this? Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
like, and he was down here with me. And I'm like, this is it. I was like, calm down, just and
Yeah.
like, what are you trying to achieve today? Like, you're just trying to get a good workout in. Like, who cares if you got to, you know, juggle these two things at the moment. But again, it's constantly about reminding myself and feeding those two wolves and making sure that I get that balance right. And but yeah, that happens a fair bit. And like, or I'll come down to the gym to do a quick workout. Like I'll come down here. I'm like, all right, I got 20 minutes. I'll jump down here, and then I come down, and there's just
Toys
stuff everywhere.
everywhere.
There's
Yeah.
skipping ropes like hung from the rig to the runner, and the bands are stretched across the bike. And there's just he's been in
Yeah.
here building something.
Oh
So
yeah. It's so familiar, man. Yeah.
it's the norm, but again, it's and I, in 3 or 4 years from now, you'll miss that stuff.
Yeah.
You'll wish you still had those times where they wanted to be down here. Like, a few years from now, he probably won't want to be hanging out with dad in the gym. He'll probably
Mhm.
be going through that next phase where he, wants to be as far away from dad as possible. And I'll be craving those times where he was down here annoying me. So it's important to remind myself of that as well in the moment.
Yeah, and what I'll say too, like those little obstacles, we'll call them, that pop up, in the gym with having your kids present and stuff. It's building the discipline and doing hard things really helps you have a proper reaction to that too, right?
Totally. Yeah.
And
Because really, at the end of the day, they're micro problems, right?
yeah,
They are very, very, very small problems, but and you'll know this as well, like if you've been in the gym, and we talk about that, like, again, talking about that competitive personality, when you start training, the testosterone's flowing, that competitive side of you is coming out, because you're so sort of riled up and driven, and sort of, and you're training hard, and you're in that sort of mindset. It can be very easy to let that side of you be the thing that, or the part of you that deals with the problem.
mhm.
And so, when something small pops up, and it is really small to this guy, to the alpha brain athlete, it seems like a really big problem. You got to jump on and squash that thing really quickly. And in reality, it's a very, very small problem. But what it gives you an opportunity to do is learn how to deal with that problem rationally, how to quieten or silence this side of you,
Mhm.
and deal with this, almost flick between the two. Like, all right, flick back to dad, calmly
Mhm.
resolve the issue, and then flick back to this mode, and get back to doing what I was doing. And what that gives you, and what that allows you to do, and what it trains you to do, is then deal with bigger problems more
Yep.
effectively. So
Mhm.
that has a significant carryover to when real things pop up in life. And
Yeah.
I firmly believe that. I think it's those challenges, and on top of that, just the ability to go through hard things, like the physical side of going through something really hard in your training, plus those little obstacles along the way, make you much more efficient at dealing with problems in day-to-day life.
Yeah, no, couldn't agree more, man. I'm of the opinion you should do something hard every single day, like something that you don't want to do, but you're going to push yourself to do anyway, just because of that, right? Like it's going to help you, respond to your kids and to your family, as opposed to emotionally reacting, right? Because you've been through harder things and you've been through them every single day, so it's just going to set you up for success in family life. I want to touch on too, talking about hard things, like some of your programming is tough, man. I've done a few of them, right? And I'm like, holy shit, man, I'm smoked after 20 minutes,
Yeah, that's the idea.
but and I'm 36, so a little bit older than you, but still, you're kind of reaching that age too, right? Getting in your 30s, that, hey, recovery probably has to be a little bit bigger of a focus than it did when you're in your early 20s. And so, do you guys build that into your training platform of recovery? And if not, what would you recommend to guys that are saying, hey, I want to get after it in the gym, even if it's 20-30 minutes a day, but I really want to tick that box, but at the same time, I don't want to just totally blow out my body, right? So what are the right kind of things that we should be doing as dads in our 30s and 40s to stay off the injury list?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. We don't, I guess, program recovery protocols, and so we also don't program warm-ups in our programming, purely because, like I said, our main focus and our main priority, and what we realize is that people are really time poor and they just need simple, quick, effective solutions to fitness. And for a lot of people, for some people, the warm up is sacred. You know, it's 30 minutes of stretching and mobility and warming up with some zone 2 work to get the heart rate elevated, and then moving into some specific warm up for the workout and whatever it may be. And then for other people, it's like, man, I got 10 minutes. Like, I got 10 minutes and I don't give a crap. I just need to get down there and get moving. And if my movement's not optimal at the start, whatever. So there's a lot of, everyone's very individual. So we decided that we wouldn't program warm-ups in, but we try to provide lots of information and education to our members. So we have a full page, even on our website. It's free to access for anybody. It's a full, very in-depth page about warming up, to give people an idea of what they can and should be doing based on whatever they're doing for the day. So we have specific information for warming up for a workout versus a strength session versus an Olympic barbell session, Olympic lifting session. And, so we try to provide as much information and education there as possible. With the recovery side of things, it's the same. We try to provide as much help and information and education as possible for our members around that side of things. And then we also have a private members Facebook page, and that's quite active with answering questions and talking. And people ask questions about recovery, for example, and I'm finding that after 3 days I'm smoked, what can I do to assist here, or whatever it may be. So that's we're always trying to be active in that space and providing as much help and information and resources as possible. But it's a difficult one to tackle as a whole. Like it's not something you can really put a blanket over and be like, here's the answer for everybody, because everybody's lifestyle, the equipment they have access to, the amount of time they have for training, the stresses that are involved in their day-to-day life, their nutrition, their hydration, their sleep, like all those things impact recovery, and all those things are different for every single person. So the best thing I can do is try to provide relevant information to everybody where possible, without being like, here's the answer for all of you.
Prescriptive.
But in terms of providing some, I guess, some helpful, hopefully, tips around recovery. So for me, what I do personally nowadays, and I always try to use my own experience. I try to provide what works for me without saying this is definitely going to work for you. And that's kind of the lens I take whenever I'm providing recommendations or information, is like, this is my experience. Take from it what might be valuable to you and try some things, but it may not work for you. But for me personally, coming from a background of a competitive athlete, I put my body through a significant amount of volume and a lot of training. And so for me, I still train quite hard, significantly less volume than what I did, but I'm still training quite hard and quite intensely on a frequent basis. What I find works really well for me with my lifestyle and my schedule at the moment, I actually train every day. So I do something every day, 7 days a week. Every now and then things pop up, and Christmas Day, for example, I didn't train Christmas Day. I took Christmas off because I wanted to. That was the last day off I had. Prior to that, it was maybe a week or two before that, and I think I'm not too sure why, but for some reason some things popped up and I just couldn't train. But most days I'll train. What I do, however, is I moderate and assess my how I'm feeling on a daily basis, and I modify my intensity as required, basically. So if I get down to the gym and I feel like absolute crap, I'll be like, all right, I need to change this a little bit. I'm not going to go as heavy as I thought I was going to, or these intervals are every minute on the minute. I'm going to go every minute 15 or every minute 30 today, just because I just know I can't meet that performance standard today that I usually would expect of myself. So I'm going to forgive myself a little bit. And I'm going to be a little bit, kind to myself, and I'll adjust accordingly. And on the days I feel great, I really lean into that and I take advantage of that and I push myself as hard as I can. So for me, it's about just moderating the intensity on a daily basis, and sort of having days where I go really hard, and then having days where I back things off a little bit, and just adjusting along the way, and
just listen to your body.
Now that for me is easy to do because I've got a great understanding of my body, and I've put it through a lot, and I little warning signs or things will pop up, and I'll be very in tune with what's going on. I'll be able to make changes. That's not always the case for everybody, and it takes some practice and it takes a lot of experience. But I think as parents and as busy people, the best thing you can do is ask yourself those questions. How am I feeling today? How motivated am I? And then just sort of working your way backwards from there and being like, well, I'm going to do something. What can I do that's going to meet those expectations and allow me to be a little bit better than what I was at the start of this session? And so we always promote adaptability on our program, and being adaptable, and I posted something a few months ago called having a tractor mentality. And you can probably dig it back up and read it if you haven't seen it, but we talk about, social media and Instagram and all that is full of Ferraris. It's full of everybody posts the best version of themselves, the Ferrari version of themselves with the shiny paint job and the brand new wheels and all that sort of stuff. And when you see that, you compare what you're seeing on your screen to how you're feeling, and what you're feeling is reality. What you're feeling is, I slept for 3 hours last night, and I'm stressed from work, and I haven't eaten enough today, and I'm probably dehydrated, and I've got to do this workout, and that's what you're feeling. That's you in the moment, and then you're comparing yourself to this image on a screen of perfection. And what I talked about was having a tractor mentality, and a tractor is versus a Ferrari. A tractor starts in all conditions. It's a bit banged up and it doesn't look pretty and it's a bit rusty, and but a tractor is reliable, and a tractor will go all day, and it doesn't matter if it's rain, hail, or shine outside and it's muddy in the field. The tractor's going to go out there and get the job done. And that, I believe, about having a tractor mentality is really important for parents in particular. Ignoring the Ferrari on your screen and instead going, you know what, I'm going to be a tractor today, and I'm just going to get this thing done. And I don't care if it's not pretty. I'm gonna get in, and I'm gonna work hard, and I'm gonna achieve my goals. And that for me is sort of in line with that recovery aspect of it, of like, you're not always going to feel great, you're not always going to feel amazing. In fact, for me, I rarely feel really good. I can probably count on my hand the amount of times I've felt amazing about getting into the gym. But I know that if I go in there and I just put in the effort and put the work in for the day, I'm gonna be better than what I was at the start of the day. So that's what it's really about for me. And realizing that and being aware of that, of like, most of the time you're not going to feel very good, and doing it anyway is going to be your best bet for making advancement and getting better. So, and when it comes to recovery, you've just got to make sure that you're in tune with it, and like I said, ask those questions to yourself every day and make adjustments accordingly. Are you pointing towards your child? Because I'm about to do the same.
Yeah. Yeah. She just came in. Yeah. Hey, sweetie. That's funny. It's like they're tuned up here. All right, come on, Porter. Come on, get over here.
Yeah, we might as well.
We say hey. Yeah. So my daughter just walked in and say hi. Say there's Mr. Brandon.
Hello.
So, as if on cue, right? Talking about dad stuff. But Brandon, we'll wrap here in a second, man. What is next for you? I know you're still competing a little bit. What are you training up for right now?
I didn't know where you were.
Yeah, I'm just talking at the moment, man. I'm just talking to Drew, and I'll be done in a second. Okay. Mate, that's a good question. So, like I said, sort of DadHours, firefighting, family, those sort of things are the priority for me at the moment. But very much still sort of in the competition side of things a little bit. I haven't completely decided as to whether or not I'm competing in 2023, but hang on one sec. Thanks, man. But I might be appearing in a team for the CrossFit season this year.
Okay.
It will definitely be my final year. I do know that.
Okay.
Yes, mate. in 1 second, mate. Sorry. It's good. This is
it works out perfect. Yeah,
it works out perfect. I just need to be quiet for 1 second, mate. But yeah, I might be competing in a team this year. So I have been roped into maybe compete on a team. It would be my final year competing. But again, it's kind of like, for me, I see it as an opportunity to show people, hopefully, what you can achieve on a limited training schedule.
Yeah.
You know, for me, I see it as an opportunity to show people what, you know, how fit I've been able to stay, and how healthy I've been able to stay, and how I can balance that side of my life with family life. What I'm very conscious of, and what I've spoken to my potential teammates about, is the very strict parameters I'm going to put on this season around ensuring that I balance my goals with my purpose. Making sure that you know, this side of my life is first and foremost, the family side, and you know, I've promised them that, you know, if we do go down that route and I compete, when I'm with them and when we're training, I'll be giving 100% of myself to the team, but that's going to be on a very limited schedule, and I'm going to make sure that it fits in with the more important stuff in my life now. So but like I said, I see it as an opportunity to really demonstrate to the community what you can achieve with some structure, some hard work, and some discipline and consistency. And hope, you know, it'd be really cool to be able to show people, hey, this is what I've been able to do with DadHours. And and that's kind of the motivation behind it for me. And hopefully, you know, it'll all work out, and I'll get to compete this year. And at this rate, it looks like we're going to at least give it a go. And you know, if I find that my cup's a little bit too empty, as we say, and it's not working out, then I'll make that decision pretty quickly, so that they can fill that void, the team that is. But yeah, that's a potential opportunity for this year. And like I said, it's a cool way to hopefully wrap up my competition career and sort of move forward into this next stage of life. So that's kind of the rough plan, and we'll see if it works out.
Whatever the decision, man, we'll be rooting for you for sure. You know, keeping tabs and doing some workouts, man. So we'll go ahead and wrap. We both got children coming in, you know, so we've got to go do the most important thing and go do the dad thing. So Brandon, just real quickly, I'll link to everything below. But where's the best place for people to find you?
Yeah, so I mean, for DadHours stuff, and to be honest with you, DadHours, to be honest with you, I post a lot more information and stuff on that DadHours page directly than I do anywhere else at the moment. But 1 second, mate. It's just at DadHours, so all one word, DadHours. That's the main Instagram page. You can also, so pretty much we're posting workouts up there a couple of times a week. We're trying to put, you know, good, useful content out there for dads and other busy people every week. So that's definitely where you're probably going to find me, and I'm on there every day. So if you ask questions, I'll do my best to answer them. You can also go onto our website and find more information there. That's also where you would sign up if you want to follow the programming. That's just www.dadhours.com. I also have a personal page on Instagram, which is just at Brandon Swan Strong. So it's my name, Brandon Swan, and then the word strong, all one word. And I post a bit of stuff in there as well. Some more, I guess, personal experiences around parenting and training and all that sort of stuff. So, but yeah, definitely, if you're going to follow one page, it's the DadHours page for sure.
Awesome. Well, Brandon, man, thank you for coming on. Let's wrap. We'll I know you gotta get busy with some dad stuff, and me too. I got my little one here. So thank you again for coming on, man. It was a pleasure.
We made it through most of it anyway.
Yeah, all right. Guys, we'll see you on the next episode.